Alright, so next speaker is Mikaela. She is from Coffee Collective. She's been there a lot of years, very focused on Brewers Cup, and she was very successful last year in Dublin. Did a fantastic performance. She scored best, I think, if I remember correctly, on the taste. So very close to actually be the world champion. So, but here she is, Mikaela. Welcome.
Hey everybody, so I'm Mikaela and I'm a barista and I've been working at the Coffee Collective for 3 years now, which has been fantastic. Thank you, Tim, for inviting me to be here today. First, I thought it's going to be quite intimidating to be here talking about how to get ready for a black brewing competition to a room full of roasters. But then it didn't take me a very long time to connect the dots and to realize that how crucial it is to have us baristas and you roasters calibrate. And a brewing competition that should be in your interests, because it's an amazing opportunity to have your coffee represented on the world stage by very hungry and passionate baristas. And the competition is kind of going to a way, or developing to a way, where the presentations are full of information. And baristas are putting a lot of their time learning about different elements, and roasting is definitely one of them. So we see you guys as amazing sources of knowledge, but also inspiration. So put it this way, you guys play a crucial role on a competition success. So today, I'm gonna give you the rules so you guys understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. And to get to the depths of Brewers Cup, I'm gonna tell you what I did to prepare. And my aim is that you will be able to give an advice, to understand the requirements of the competition, and to really just stay open for those who compete. So, let's calibrate on Brewers Cup. Just a short outline. And let's do competition basics. Brewers Cup is a manual filter coffee competition, but there's two parts to it, which a lot of people don't actually know, that there's this part called Compulsory service. And I'm going to talk about it because it's half of the points. And it's also why I'm second and not the first. So I feel strongly about that. Compulsory service is something that you don't see. There's no presentation in it. It's not filmed. So it's a 7 minutes of competition time. We brew 3 cups of coffee to 3 judges, sensory judges. And all competitors get the same coffee, the same grinder, and the same sponsored water. So it's really just to test the barista skills on brewing an excellent cup of coffee. The judges, they're gonna do the assessment blindly, so they do it in the judges' room. They don't have a clue of the identity of the barista. And to succeed in this part, it's really important to be efficient in dialing in coffees, especially different origins and different roast profiles. And it is important to understand the score sheets. And especially if it's 7 minutes, it's not 7.02. So maybe this is not a part that is very relevant for a lot of roasters because you're not directly involved. But you can still help a barista by, maybe if you have a big enough menu, there's some dark roasts of different origins. Maybe as a roaster you receive a lot of coffee samples or different roasteries' coffees to cup. Maybe keep those and then label it again and give it to the barista who's practicing to compete. Because it's important that they get something new that they don't know. And that's something I really tried to do. The second part is the open service. Open, so everybody sees it. There's a 10-minute competition time. And each competitor can choose their coffee, can choose their grinder, and can bring their own water. The funny part is that over 2/3 of the points of the open service come from flavor and the competitor's ability to describe those flavors. And the rest come from presentation skills, workflow, level of knowledge, and customer service. And to be successful in this open service part, it is beneficial to know how much you need to talk about origin, variety, processing, roasting, and also brewing. But you need to remember it's a brewer's cup. So you can have all these talks and these beautiful stories about farmers and roasting or processing, which are very important and very interesting, but it's a competition about brewing and the brewer. So maybe think about which way to take the presentation. But the most important part is to learn or to know how to describe flavor and how to do it both in depth, but how to do it accurately. And I think that's somewhere you roasters can help because you're cupping all the time. Just for an example, if I say, think about the taste of cranberries. Some of you will think about the taste of dried cranberries because that's what you're used to. And some of you will think about fresh cranberries, that when you bite them, they're very acidic and sweet and a little bit tannic in the end. And those are quite different things. So that would be an example of how to go a bit more depth into the description. I'm gonna give you the score sheets. Compulsory service score sheet, very basic, has only flavor scores, goes from 6 to 10, and yeah, about only flavor. There's some of these, maybe you can see these 3, that are multiplied in points. So that would indicate that as a competitor, maybe you want to focus on those parts, those flavor attributes. These are points on quality of that attribute and not the quantity. So you want to make sure that the acidity works well in the whole harmony of the cup, for example. And so here we have the open service score sheet. So it's exactly the same on the flavor part, but then there's 2 new points. So we have the taste description and the customer service. And so the taste is how the competitor explains the taste. So again, if it's accurate and if it's detailed, you will get higher points. And customer service assesses how beneficial, how much the whole experience enhances the judge's experience. So how engaging you are as a presenter, how professional, and so on. But again, over 2/3 come from the flavor. And it's funny because a lot of us are very, very scared of the presentation part, but in the points, it's very little. So actually what we should all be focusing on is the flavor and being good at that part. And this is for my colleague baristas in the audience, maybe not so much for the roasters, but how to get high scores. It's a game, read the rules, know them by heart. Learn to pinpoint flavor. Also something that the judges will always ask you in the debriefing, like, why did you say that? Why did you mention that? How does that reflect on the flavor? So kind of like take it into your system of explaining all the whys already for them. So there's nothing, no questions left answered. And something that I really focused on myself is how to speak to somebody who's not speaking back to you, So you're having a total monologue, but how to make them feel like they're actually a dialogue. And let's go to this part, the strength of the known. I think I'm here today because of my open service presentation mostly. And I want to kind of tell you what I did and why I did it, because I did something a bit unusual. So I chose a coffee out of the shelf from our normal menu, roasted exactly the same way, like for everybody else. And that was kind of part of my whole tactique. So my tactique was to value the things that I already knew from my everyday work and to bring that to the world stage as a strength. So it was not boring, it was pretty genius, if I might say myself, which could have gone either way, but thank God it was appreciated. And for me, the strength of the known means that it's the beauty of everyday repetition, it's the power of long-term relationship, it's the opportunity to perfect your skills daily, and it's to respect the quality product in its own right. So of course, when I was getting ready, I wanted to, if that was my tactique, I wanted to bring a coffee that I did use every day and I did know very well. So I chose Kieni, and that's the one you've been now drinking, and that's the coffee Klaus was having a presentation about yesterday. And I wanted to choose a coffee that I knew the flavor profile really well. I've been brewing it for 3 years. So I've tasted the different harvests, I've tasted the different AAs, ABs, multiple of times. And that really helped me to know where the flavor profile can develop to. Farm knowledge. It's an amazing to work with a coffee that the company you work for has been buying for 6 years. So there's a lot of strength in the knowledge that Klaus and the other people who visited the farm have been able to bring back to us baristas. So I sat actually Klaus down one of the weeks or months before the competition, and I really questioned him. I wanted to know what happens at the farm. Is it the cherry? Is it the picking? Is it the process? Is it something that we do? Why does it taste so delicious? How can he know? How can he pick it up on blind cupping tables year after year? What makes it so amazing? And also, because of the relationship they've been able to create, there's, I don't know how many blog posts have you written about Kieni, that very long. I've read everything I could, because I haven't been at the farm myself. Roasting also, when it's something that you know and you've been repeating, Kasper Rasmussen, who's our roast master and one of the owners, he has 1,000 batches behind him with his coffee. So he's been able to repeat quite a bit. And something that is part of our way of roasting is production cuppings. Every batch is cupped. So he's used a lot of time to develop his methods of roasting the coffee, which for me as a barista is good. I can trust that he's done his homework. He knows exactly how to get the sweetness and how to get the acidity the best way possible. So I decided to trust his expertise and his skill, and I just took the coffee out of the shelf. That's what we serve to our customers every day. That's amazing quality. If he could roast it better, why wouldn't he already? And also, rest time, I think it's very important. A lot of coffees, if you have very little of it, you need to be practicing quite fast. You don't have a lot of time to wait around. But for me, rest time is very important in filter coffees. I've realized that in my preference, I want it to be at least 2 weeks old, because it gets more stable in aroma and flavor gets more depth. So in the World Championships, on the final round, my coffee was 16 days old, and it was really, really amazing. brewing-wise, a little bit same ideas. A method that I'm very comfortable with, very good at, is Kalida Wave. I've been brewing with it a lot every day. And I've been able to taste Kieni with so many methods that this is just outstands all the other ones. Kalida has a way of creating a light, creamy body, a lot of clarity, very elegant cup profile. And I thought with Kieni that just gives the best result. And routine as well. When you know, like you guys are roasting on a specific machine and you roast again and again and again, you build a routine with it. And with a routine, you can create a consistency. So of course I would choose something that I can be really consistent on the world stage, because that's beneficial for the competition. Recipe-wise, I went with a ratio of 15 grams to 250 mils of water. And I tested so many different options. I did different ratios, different grind sizes, different extraction yields and stuff. But that's where I ended up with, and I like my coffee, my filter coffees in extraction yield a little bit over under 20. And what I did was I sieved off the fines, because sieving off the fines enabled me to reduce the bitterness a little bit and to really focus on the sweetness of this coffee. But all these ideas wouldn't matter if I didn't find a way of practice and to train for the competition. So basically this is my training structure. I completely just split it into 4, because in my head I can do one thing at a time really well. So I would do the recipe, only focusing on the recipe. Tweaking different things, trying different things, writing down my tasting notes. And I would do it both for the compulsory service, just to dial in really fast, try different recipes, try different coffees, or I would do it for the open service. Workflow, I would brew 3 coffees again and again and again, and then do it again and again and again, because it's a lot about muscle memory. You want to make your work seem like you've been doing it for a long time, you make it seamless, you make it flow. And presentation was definitely something that I felt least comfortable with. I felt like that's my biggest weakness of going to the world competition. And I spent a lot of time of trying to figure out how to do that. I would rehearse my speech again and again and again. I would be on my bike, I would be running and saying it out loud, sometimes even with a hairbrush in front of the mirror, you know. And just figuring out ways that make you feel confident. But also not just to present, but how can I make that, I said monologue, how can I make that sound like a dialogue? How can I engage with these 3 or now 4 people that those are the crucial people for me in this competition. How can I make them feel comfortable and also trust what I'm saying? Because this is the part where I can actually kind of influence on their opinions about me and my coffee. So, really want to use that time wisely. And exercise, that's a important part of how to feel a little bit less nervous, how to feel a little bit less shaky on the stage. So part of my routine actually would be to exercise twice a week, sweat twice a week, because that would help me to be able to breathe better, to have a little bit of less of a heart attack all the time. And yeah, quite a basic thing, but really helpful for competition. This is quite self-explanatory. I made a schedule, a proper plan of how to do stuff, because we're in the professional end of things. You need to have plans and structures and Excel sheets. So that's what I did. This is just the last 4 weeks before the competition, actually. So I would have fixed days of when I would practice what. I would have fixed days for presentations, so I could not try to sleaze out of them. When you ask somebody to show up on a time, you feel compelled to show up yourself. So that's what I did. So I also realized for me to feel confident on the world stage, I would need a lot of repetition. So I also started way earlier than this already to do stuff. And on the other side of things, you need days off. So all the days that I wouldn't have anything on, I knew I don't need to think about the competition. I need to have, see friends, see family, do something fun, maybe work sometimes. But to get far, it's very hard to get far without a team. And even though I felt that I could bring a lot of stuff that I already knew and I was already doing to the competition, there were still things that I needed to also learn and to be better at myself. And that's when team comes in hand. There's a lot of faces and a lot of text, but basically what's the point of a team is to give it advice and to give you perspective. When you're doing something just yourself again and again, you get quite blinded of it. And also you only have one perspective on doing it. So you need people who can look at it around. I guess it's the same for barista competition. You need other people to see what you're doing so they can give you an advice. This lady here, Astrid, and here, she was my main coach. And Astrid she's my co-worker now, but she has a background in theater. So I went to her directly and I need some help with the presentation skills. I suck at that. And first I thought if she has any colleagues, she knows somebody who could help me, but she said, I would love to help you myself if that's okay with you. And I was like, of course, that's amazing. Then I asked consultation and help for rules from Nora. It's extremely valuable to talk to somebody who knows the rules inside out to do well. It is a game. I would have help for tasting and description. Most of the time, I did it myself. I was there at the roastery practicing again and again on my own. My boyfriend, he's a chef, so he has a really good palate, so we would do taste descriptions together a lot of times. But then I have the Fantastic Four, plus Klaus, who would take their time and let me run through my presentation. Those are nerve-wracking situations for me, but that's what you need to put yourself into to be able to repeat that, do that again on the world stage. And that was super valuable on kind of checking all my facts and also checking all the taste notes. If my taste notes, what we had come up with, if they would go through from these guys. And they're for people, so there's of course a difference in their understanding of flavor as well, which is super, super good. Something that I can't be more thankful for is the help I got at the World Championships. I have guys, Samuel and Callum, pushing my things across Dublin, helping me to get my stuff. And then these guys, they're polishing my ware, just so I could be feeling a bit more relaxed and not to shuffle around and do everything. So these are the team members you maybe want to think about, or for a competitor to think about. So these are some quick tips that I came up with that I think that roasters could use when you work with baristas. Ask what the barista is looking for. Do they have a theme? Do they have a focus or an idea that you could, come in with? Talk what kind of coffees you have. The national competition season is very different. Some of them are already competing in nationals now. Some of us, like in Finland, we do it in April. The difference in coffee is huge. So see what you have and how much you have. It helps a lot, the barista. If you can, meet and cup together, because that's the best way of them understanding what is the roast profiles that you do, what are the beliefs that you have as a roaster. But then you can also talk about flavor and describe the flavor together. Share your knowledge. Like I said, we're quite hungry people as baristas. We want to know what you guys are doing. And be patient with our roasting questions. There's a lot of roasting questions, and a lot of us don't always know what happens in the roaster. So be patient. We're really hungry to learn, and you're the guys who have the knowledge. So let's share that. So thank you, and time.
Thank you, Mikaela. That was really great. So what do you think about the coffee we're drinking now? Is it up to? Not quite. Is it
Well,
paper cups? You know,
it's not
all.
sieved.
Oh no.
Yeah, no, it's good. What do you guys think? Yeah, I think it was a little bit less acidic, but I think that's also Kalida and sieving and.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are doing some okay brews on the bench.
No, it's really good.
So
definitely.
what we did actually on the brew from Marco, we just opened the hole a little bit more to increase the speed. Otherwise, it just gets too slow.
Yeah.
Very low tech, but it worked a lot.
Do we have time for any questions, or what's our? If anybody had any questions.
Yeah, we've got 3 minutes. Yeah. Questions.
Yes. Champion.
Your coach, was it Astrid?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
She did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
I think you had the best presentation. Well, your presentation was far the best one in the World Championships this year, in my opinion.
Thank you.
So your coach did a fantastic job.
We did, yeah.
But did she have any good pointers making your speech so natural? It was a monologue, but it was very including for
Yeah.
the judges.
Yeah. Actually, she did some very small trainings, some quite basic, I guess, acting training. The way you're to kind of, I would have to act an emotion. So if I'm sad, you go a little bit down. If you're feeling desperate, like even more. If you're happy, all of a sudden you lift up yourself and you're looking at people in the eye, and the way you move with these emotions. We repeated them a little bit, and I think that really stuck with me, the way you carry yourself. That's gonna reflect a lot, and that's gonna set up the mood. If I'm a little bit too nervous at the beginning, the judges are gonna feel a bit uncomfortable of how nervous will I be. So if I at least can start for the first 2 minutes, and I can, hold myself up, and just to, kind of lie that I'm feeling really great, so it's gonna work out better. And also, we would repeat the speech. She would listen to it again. I don't know how she could do it, but she would be like, "Okay, Mikaela, you need to talk to me like I heard it for the first time. Like, explain it to me like you would explain to your best friend." So I would start to figure out how to do that and how you use pauses in your speech. Instead of saying a lot, you don't usually have a time limit, so you can do it. So you're quiet a little bit, and then you continue, and then you engage again, and you make it just sound so much more interesting. So those little kind of techniques we would be practicing.
Nice, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yeah.
I just wondered, are you going to do it again? Are you going back for more next year?
I think I'll do it again, definitely. I'm going to have a break next year. But then, then I'm going to do it. And I'm thinking, should I do brewers? Should I try on barista to learn something? Or we'll see. Definitely. Yeah.
Go for it, we can.
Yeah. So if anybody has any
Give her a
questions.
big hand.